Here we are in Munich, Germany, standing in front of the Frauenkirche. It was built by Jörg von Halsbach and later finished by Lucas Radler. This church was constructed in 1468 and took around 20 years to complete. Now, before we take a look inside, let us admire the structures on the outside of the church. As you can see, there are two large towers standing on either side of the entrance.
The domes are a sort of greenish color. What is the metal that makes it like this?
They're copper. The rain and weather have made the copper oxidize and turn green.
I have heard that tourists can actually go into the towers to see the view of the city. Is this true?
Yes, it is. I've climbed it myself. There are several stairs to climb. It's quite small. Once the stairs end, an elevator is used to go the rest of the way.
We are looking out over the city through these rounded windows seen on the other tower.
There is something so incredibly special about this view. There was a law that was made that there would be no buildings built to obstruct the view from the church. Stuart Anderson states that this church is the symbol of the city.
I just noticed that one of the towers is not as tall as the other.
The southern tower is in fact taller than the northern one. This is because near the end of the construction they realized that there was not enough material to finish it. Another interesting fact about the domes is that they were finished in 1525 and were a similar copy of the Dome of the Rock in Israel.
I am really interested to see what is in the inside.
Here we are in the nave. It is quite a different feel from what you would expect looking from the outside.
It looks quite new.
Yes, it is newer. Unfortunately, the church is not all original. A good portion of it was destroyed in the bombing during World War II. It is really sad because this is the largest Gothic building in all of southern Germany.
Look at the ceiling. The vaulting looks so complex.
The light wood is placed so intricately upon the plaster. It almost makes a star shape where all the pieces meet. Even around the arches and columns, the wood makes a nice frame.
To my left is a fairly large object. It seems to be a place where maybe a body would be.
Yes, there isn't just any body though. This is the tomb of Emperor Ludwig of Bavaria. He was so influential in his country that they laid him to rest in a beautiful black marble coffin. He is surrounded by 4 statues of kneeling knights.
There were a bunch of people standing around a small part of the entrance. Was there anything special there?
Actually, there is. There's a footprint stamped in the tile. According to the Eyewitness Travel Guide of Munich and the Bavarian Alps, legend says that the devil made a deal with Halsbach and he would finance the building of the church if there were no windows in it. From a place where he stood, 22 columns blocked the view of all windows. He was angry that he had lost his bet and stamped his foot in the tile at the entrance of the church. This is one of my most favorite churches in the world. The mix of Gothic style in the arches and columns and the Renaissance style of the domes with their octagonal shape capture the hearts of many.
As we make our transition from looking at an old German church, we have come upon a piece from a German artist who had moved to Flanders. The artist is Hans Memling. His famous painting, Christ, the Light of the World, was painted in 1480.
Why did you choose to do this art piece?
Well, besides it having to do with religion, which caught my attention in History of Western Art 1, it also has multiple sections of stories being told. The different scenes in this picture are separated from one another by rocks, hills, buildings, and landscapes.
Wow, the more I look at this painting, the more I'm astonished at how detailed and colorful it is.
That is what Memling was aiming for. He wanted to show the exquisite beauty of each scene, the harmony used in their separation, and the skill of bringing them together as one. If we look at the painting as a whole, starting from the left, we see an angel appear to the shepherds to tell them the good news of the Savior's birth. As we move to the left of the center of the Virgin, we see how the figures are characterized and contrasted.
Question. You said that this painting has different scenes. How many scenes are there, and what are they?
Well, from left to right, we have a portrait of Peter Moltke and his son, the Annunciation, Adoration of the Magi, and the Resurrection and Annunciation.
What is described in each scene?
This is the portrait of Peter and his son, also known as the donors. It's interesting to see that instead of facing his wife at the center, Peter kneels with his son outside the stable, admiring the newborn baby. His wife Catherine van Riebeck kneels in the left-hand corner of the panel, just outside the room where the Pentecostal scene is being shown.
That's really interesting to have a couple separated that way. But then again, it seems that back then, the men were able to be in the churches, while the women had to stay outside or in the back of the church.
In the next part is the Annunciation. Here we have the Virgin on the right interrupted while engaging in meditation. We also see a flock of sheep grazing on top of a hill near shepherds, one of whom is playing the bagpipes. While the three shepherds move, the piper stops playing to listen to the message that is being delivered.
So then, the next part is the adoration of the Magi, right?
Exactly. And here we already know that Memling has represented the story in great detail. As we move on to the right of the picture, we see another short scene of the men and their arrival to Jerusalem, where Herod, at the front of his palace, has come to greet them. A little further to the left, we see the king talking to the priests and scribes because he has just learned about the route to Bethlehem. We then turn our attention to the wise men in solitude on the mountain. Two of them have kneeled in prayer while the other stands with his hands lifted high, gazing at the star.
Each scene has some other small scenes in it that completes the entire story. This can be a triptych because it can be split into 3 sections and each section completes the next frame.
As we move to the left of the panel, we see the entrance of Jesus' grave, closed by a slab of stone. A little further back, he is seen with Mary Magdalene, as well as we see the other 2 Marys coming down the path. Further down, we see the Lord appearing to the disciples on the seashore while they are fishing. Towards the summit in the front, we see the apostles and the Virgin looking up to the Lord as he ascends in the form of a dove.
I'm astonished at how he collaborated each story and how he depicts the profane and sacred all in one painting.
And it also shows how much love and pain was caused from God's birth up to his resurrection.